Hey, good morning, Inspirational Souls. This is Antonio, and I'm so stoked to be coming to you with episode number 2 with Dashai. Dashai is a San Diego-based reggae DJ who has been spinning with the Tribe of Kings since 1988, and he's been vegan since 1999. And that's some of the things we're going to talk to him about today, about his veganism, about his reggae. Recently, he graduated from the MainStreet Vegan Academy. You can catch Dashai on his weekly podcast called the Dashifier Podcast, Reggae and Vegan Lifestyle. And he has been involved in so many musical things. We'll talk about a few of those today and give him a chance to promote those. So welcome, Dash.
What's up, brother? How's it going?
Good. How are you doing, man?
Good. Just getting ready for the weekend. It's Labor Day weekend, and I got a lot going on this weekend, and we're going up to the vegan street fair in a little bit. And then I got a show tonight with Sister Nancy, and of course a couple other things on Sunday, and our big dance down here in San Diego. We've been doing for 20 years. It's every Sunday night, so I just got a big weekend ahead and really looking forward to it. And this is a great way to start my weekend. So big respect to you, Antonio, and everything that you guys are doing.
Thank you. And it's awesome. I'm so stoked to have you here, and it's been just amazing since we started the Inspirational Souls website about a year ago, all the amazing creative people that we've met. And now, with technology, I can, I met you in person, which was an honor. And, but now we can connect, and I can get to know you a little bit more intimately and get to share you a little bit more intimately. So let's start with how you got to where you are in San Diego, meaning, what's your origins, a little bit about, how your journey led you to where you're at today.
Cool. Well, I'll try to make it short and sweet. I'm originally from Oceanside, California, born and raised in Oceanside, graduated from Oceanside High, fully grew up in the Mid-Valley, if you know the area. Single mom, raised by my mom and my grandmother pretty much. As a kid, I skateboarded. I was really deeply into hip hop, which ultimately led me into first becoming, interested in spirituality, which ultimately led me becoming vegetarian and vegan. And through that journey, I also got into reggae music at the same time. So reggae and being vegan or vegetarian kind of always intertwined for me. That's how I came up with my podcast. And over the years, I worked for a drafting company. I ended up going to San Diego State and graduated from San Diego State with a bachelor degree in religion and history. I learned a little bit of Hebrew, been to Israel a few times. Of course, I DJ'd out there, been to Jamaica, just doing my thing. Been part of Tribe of Kings for a while. We all kind of met together, and we were like reggae, Rasta hip hop kids, and we ultimately became Tribe of Kings. About 10 years ago, met my current fiance, Megan Ray, and got our fur babies, our doggies, Barney and Elle, which you might hear of it a little bit, running by me at Barkit at the mailman or somebody. But yeah, and over the years, I've always been that vegan guy, and I'm glad to see that veganism is not such a obscure thing anymore. I used to always have to explain what it is and kind of feel like the oddball, but nowadays it's just nice that we can go to various restaurants and various places and travel, and it's not such an odd thing. And a few years ago, about a year ago, I got a job at Trader Joe's, which also very much promotes the vegan lifestyle and encourages me to, help out customers as well as crew members with vegan ideas and vegan things like that. And also more recently, I became part of Vegan in San Diego, which is kind of a comprehensive social media that it's mostly active on Instagram and the website. My friend Carly runs it, and I'm just kind of a rep and help out with different organizations. And as you mentioned already as well, about 6 months ago, I graduated. I went out to New York and went to the MainStreet Vegan Academy, and it was a really great experience. Victoria Moran runs the academy, and there's a lot of kind of stuff that I knew, but a lot of stuff that I also didn't know or wasn't super sure about as far as nutrition and different things like that. And I've always kind of wanted to eat well-rounded and seasonal and stuff like that. So going to the academy really helped me. Hey, Ellie Belly. Really helped me, you know, just be more solidified in how I kind of see the world. Hi, Mama.
Awesome, man. So wow, that's you've been doing the vegan thing for almost 20 years, man. So, you know, a little bit, you know, one of the, you know, that's kind of like, you know, how long have you been vegan? What are some of the differences, really quick, between then and now? You know, that's interesting. 20 years ago, man, it wasn't, you know, people weren't wearing all these shirts, probably repping veganism. Activism was probably.
Yeah, I mean, hi, Mama. She's excited. Yeah, I mean, when I first became vegan, I only knew like 2 other people that really embraced the lifestyle. I mean, I got into being vegan more or less wanting to eat a lot healthier, and I stopped eating certain animal products and stuff like that. And I didn't even realize about 2 weeks in I was vegan. But yeah, I mean, I fully embraced the Rasta lifestyle, which, you know, eating Ito is what they call it, and it's basically just eating clean and healthy, and Rastas get that same scripture or the same ideology from the same scripture that Jews or the Jewish culture gets kosher, and just the way they interpret it. So I didn't even eat salt for like 5 years.
Wow.
Just because that's part of the Rasta way and different things like that. Also, kind of another reason why I don't drink. But, you know, slowly over the years, I just cut things out. And then, like I said, one day I just kind of noticed that I was vegan and kind of just went for it. And like you said, you know, 18, 19 years ago, there was nobody wearing shirts. No restaurants really offered a vegan, you know, meal or anything like that. So I definitely had to navigate through all of that and find the vegetarian restaurants or the vegetarian options and just say, oh, I don't, you know, no cheese, please, and stuff like that. And when we found the vegan options, if you found like veggie chunks I remember the first time I had vegan chicken, it kind of freaked me out. One of my friends took me to this Asian restaurant, and they had like a piece of soy on a stick, and they covered it in like soy paper, so it had like the skin. And I kind of ate it. I kind of looked at it first and was examining it, and even like ripped it open and was like checking it out. Wasn't sure if it was somebody trying to trick me or be weird about it, but you know, and there just wasn't those options. And over the years, finding, you know, the vegan chicken, the vegan beef, the vegan, all these things that I deem as like transitional food now. But, you know, it just really was eye-opening as things slowly started happening, and there's more vegan options in the area now. There's everything. Before, I thought I would never have, you know, vegan tiramisu or certain even vegan ice creams. And now major companies like, you know, I kind of expected it from Ben & Jerry's, but like Haagen-Dazs or whatever, they did the vegan option the other day. And, you know, just so much more vegan options. I mean, even an all-vegan food truck just opened up recently down here in San Diego. It's all vegan street tacos. And
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, 18 years ago, that would have been mind-blowing for me. I would have like, I mean, I'm still just as excited. I mean, I've always been into food. I've always been into cooking and baking and stuff like that. So the fact that there's all these new vegan options and vegan things in the area, just really exciting for me. Even shoes and pants and, you know, things, or belts, excuse me. Just different options that are around, that major companies are, you know, recognizing that people want these products, whether it's cheaper or not. It's just really good and inspirational for all of us to, you know, continue our lives and you know.
So on that, really quick, yeah. So on that, a couple of things. I have seen you're all over the web at Dashai.
Yep.
And I've seen a lot of your posts, and believe me, I know you know where the good food is at.
A little bit.
Yeah, and follow him and follow him on online and watch today when he's at the vegan street fair. It's up in LA, I believe. You'll see all the good stuff he comes into. So, kind of what you were speaking about is a lot of the why is veganism. Why is it so important to you now? I mean, it's been important to you, but why is it important to you at the core?
I mean, excuse me if I get a little emotional. Veganism is compassion, and the way that this world is, we just need more of it, and like things going on right now with like Harvey and the hurricane and stuff like that. Not only the people but the animals, like life in itself. We have so many people and social injustice out there and stuff like that we just need to remember. The key is compassion. I mean, they're just we just have to remember that compassion. That's the key element for me with being vegan, is compassion and empathy and understanding how other people live and how other beings live. And I think that's the core element for me with veganism, whether it's animal rights, human rights, my own personal rights, my own way of living. We all have to have compassion and empathy for everybody, every being, the planet. We all have to be mindful. And I mean, it starts with yourself. It starts with who you are and knowing yourself, not just like, oh yeah, I like this or I like that, but also knowing your strengths and also knowing not so much your weaknesses, but just things that you might not be good at or you might not be comfortable with. As a kid, well, I say a kid, but I was probably like 19 or 20. I worked at an Alzheimer's place for just a couple of days, and it was really, really hard. And I just had to get up and tell them, what, this is not for me. And I know myself. You know what I mean? And that's what I feel like, people knowing themselves and being there for other people and being your true self to the next person. And you never know what other people are going through. And I just think, that key element is compassion.
That's awesome, man. I love that. And I love how you wrap, everybody has a different take on veganism, especially non-vegans. But, I kind of adhere to, the kind of definition that you give to living a vegan lifestyle, which is kind of everywhere that anything kind of exists, compassion. If you live with compassion, and if there's compassion, that's kind of what is at just the core, Yeah,
I mean, just because I'm vegan and somebody that's a meat eater, so to speak, is going through an issue or having issues, I'm not gonna disrespect them in any way. And if they're talking to me and they're having a hard time, I'm going to be compassionate and try to empathize with them and try to help them through, because that's what we are. We're all, and one thing I say, we're all here together. You know what I mean? When we're walking around, even before I worked at Trader Joe's, when I'm at the grocery store and somebody's shopping and they're like, sorry, I'm in your way. Well, no, you're not in my way. We're all here together. You know what I mean? Like, you can't go out in public. You can't go out in, what's up, Jordan? You can't go out in, society and drive around and think everybody's in my way. Get out of my way. No, we're all here together. Yeah.
So with that, do you one of the things that is interesting is just the different, I guess, levels of how people promote veganism, and I just kind of wonder how, did you promote it, or are you the type of person that just lives by example and let people watch? I'm just wondering where you're at on that.
I always try to just live my life and be an example. And I guess just because when I first was getting into veganism, so to speak, or Rasta spirituality, anything like that, with because it is kind of like it's a lifestyle. And you might say it's even like a spiritual lifestyle. It's an ideology that you want to live by. And anything like that, there's zealots, and I don't want to be a zealot about it, And I just feel that people should try to understand and comprehend where people are coming from. And one thing I like to say is I would like to meet the vegan. I want to be the vegan that I would like to meet before I was vegan. So, you know, try not to push it on people. And I'm a big believer that the everyday person can be vegan. You know, the everyday person that works a 9 to 5, the everyday person, you know, single mom, single dad, you know, mom and dad, like, you know, the teacher, the construction worker, the guy at the gas station, you know, wherever, you know, concepts, everybody can be vegan. And I'm just like to show, like, I'm just a regular guy. Like, I'm not like working out all day, you know, like watch me, watch how I work out all day and you can be like me. Cause that's not real. That's not reality for a lot of people. So you got to be able to just live a normal life. Like, I mean, yeah, I DJ, but also like I have a job and I eat food and I go to the bathroom and I take a shower and, you know, and I know people that are going through the struggle just like those other people out there. And that's one thing with my podcast that I like to talk to people about how they became vegan, what was their first ideas of vegan or vegetarian and anything like that, because it shows how the people listening that might not be vegan or vegetarian could relate. Well, like, yeah, I came from that place. Like, that's where I'm from. I'm from San Diego. I'm from Oceanside. Oh, just like them, and they're vegan. Oh, wow. Or I thought that same idea too when, you know, when you're a kid and you first find out what hot dogs are made of. You know, like, I stopped eating hot dogs, but my little kid mind, I still ate corn dogs, you know? So I just like to be by example. And over the years, I mean, we're talking 18, 19 years of being vegan, 25 years of being vegetarian. Like, I've ran into people where, like my old boss in the student activities office at college that I worked at, well, I use microwaves, and I would bring in my little oven and be in there making Boca burgers and French fries. And, you know, people would, oh, what's this? What's that? And my boss, unfortunately, at the time, she got breast cancer. And the doctor, which is kind of surprising, like thinking back on it, told her that she needed to eat mostly organic and vegan. Well, she already kind of knew about that lifestyle because I was doing that lifestyle. And I wasn't pushing it on nobody. I just lived my life. It's just like a normal thing to me. And I love it when people are activists about it and really, you know, going for it. But I just think there's a line of being nice and being mindful and also pushing it on people and being disrespectful. Like, yeah. I think it's cool that people do that, but that's not my style.
Yeah.
I totally respect the people that, you know, go out there with big signs and dress up and, you know, fake meat outfits and stuff like that. But that's just not my style. Like, I would rather just promote my music and promote the vegan lifestyle, that it's like the everyday average person can do it, you know what I mean? But we need those people who are the extremists, so to speak, and the people who you might not even know that are vegan, you know, like, and until you really talk to somebody and get to know who they are, because everybody's idea of being vegan or how they became vegan is different.
Yeah, and I love that. Everybody has you know, a different journey. We're all going to get there at the rate that we're going to get there anyway, you know. So a question about that too is, what are some of the things that people ask you about veganism that might be, you know, vegan curious? Because I think that's one thing that I find, and I've done both activism and just living the lifestyle, is that a lot of times I believe that there's definitely some misunderstanding about what vegans eat or what vegans, you know, do. But there's also, within that curiosity, I think there's an opportunity to educate people. And I think sometimes people just probably don't make the transition because they think it's too hard. And education is an important piece of that. So what are some of the things that, you know, what are some tips you can give to somebody who might be transitioning or starting out vegan?
Well, a big thing that I try to tell people is take your time, because I feel that knowledge is power. You know what I mean? And people hear that all the time, but it truly is like, and I can speak from experience because I took the time slowly. I stopped eating like scavenger animals, which I didn't eat a lot anyway, but like pork, goat, catfish, yada, yada, animals that are unclean and kind of clean the earth, so to speak. And then I cut out red meat as, you know, you learn about hormones and how that whole process is, you know, gone through. And then chicken and fish and dairy and yada, yada, yada. But I feel that people just need to take their time and learn. And like I said earlier, with a lot of these mock meats that are so readily available, people, well, I love, you know, chicken, or I love whatever. Well, you can get that vegan, and that way, you know, nothing died for your plate. You know, like if you want to have your burger, if you want to have your bacon, you want to have whatever, you can go get that now. I mean, it might not be 100% exactly how it tastes, but at least it's like something, because there's so many people, you know, over the years, you know, people find out I'm vegan and they'll be like, oh yeah, I was vegan for 3 years, or I was vegan for 6 months and I got sick. And then I'm like, well, what were you eating? Or, you know, usually I don't question them. I just go, oh, okay, whatever. But if we get into a conversation, I'll ask them like, okay, well, what were you eating? Like whatever. And, oh, salads and fat and French fries from Jack in the Box. Or, well, that's not like eating mindfully. That's just trying to be vegan. And like, and I jokingly call it like a fast food vegan. Yeah. But nowadays, fast food vegans can go to plant power fast food, can go to native foods, and go to this and go to that. And you just got to be mindful on how you eat, you know. And I think one thing that I like to say, just take your time, learn. Like, you know, a lot of people assume, oh, you don't eat meat, oh, you don't eat dairy, oh my God, I can never do that. Like, you're not missing anything. I can go get a vegan chicken sandwich, and that will satisfy my craving for that. And nowadays, there's all these great, wonderful vegan cheese options, vegan ice cream options, vegan donut options, like you name it, it's out there. And a lot of people just feel like vegan is like this hippy dippy thing. Like, no, man, like, you know, there's big athletes, big rock and roll people, big actors. Like, there's, again, everybody, the everyday person is going vegan. So it's not like you're missing nothing. It's not like you're becoming part of some cult. You know, like, it's just you're making a life choice to live compassionately. And, you know, like, I'm vegan and I'm not into killing. And that's another reason, you know, not into death.
So yeah, that was a great explanation, you know, covered the gamut of things. Where do you recommend, like, say, for instance, if somebody comes up to you, just maybe a couple of shout outs to, you know, either social sites, you know, or websites that, you know, where people can get educated, and then not to layer the questions too much, but transition that to talk possibly about, you know, can people, you just graduated from the MainStreet Vegan Academy, can people get educated there too? So
definitely. I mean, speaking of that, I would recommend, honestly, that you read the MainStreet Vegan. It's just called MainStreet Vegan. MainStreet Vegan. It's by Victoria Moran, and she basically goes chapter by chapter on different aspects of your life that are vegan, from not only the food, but beer, wine, cosmetics, you know, bathroom utensils, you know, soap, shampoo, just different ideas on that and what is vegan and those things. Because it's not that hard. Like, when I first read the book, I was like, wow, this is like all the stuff that I've learned. So it's definitely out there. It goes step by step on, you know, different aspects of your life, your everyday living. And as far as like websites, and being here in San Diego and now being part of the Vegan in San Diego crew, I always recommend, you know, going to Vegan in San Diego. And like yesterday, I had a friend, one of my coworkers at Trader Joe's, and since I've been there, a handful of people have been wanting to eat more vegetarian or healthy and stuff like that, and are taking that leap or taking that next step. And one girl, for example, is moving to Germany, and she's like, oh, I don't know about if there's any vegan options. And I was like, I'm sure there is. And I was just telling her to go find a website, go find a Facebook group or something that is vegans in Germany, because I'm more than sure there's something out there like that. And I just feel like if you're in a certain area, go find the website, go find the Instagram, go even find another vegan that lives in your area and ask them, what are the restaurants? What are the places that you like to go to? I know there's like a vegan in Brooklyn. I know there's, you know, Happy Cow's a good one too. When I go on my little vegan vacations, maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, I just was like, well, I want to start going out, and I'm not really into drinking and partying, even though I'm a DJ. I'm more one to be like rocking the party instead of being in the party. But I wanted to go and do something that's like my style. So I just decided to start picking cities that are big in the vegan scene and there's restaurants that I want to try. And I've been to Portland, Seattle, like Denver and Boulder, New York. And I just go, like, pick a city, I get a couple gigs, and I just go. And I honestly use Happy Cow. I mean, there's restaurants that I hear about from other people, and I'll definitely keep those at the top of my list. But I'll just go to Happy Cow and use Happy Cow to navigate through the city and find some restaurants. But, you know, there's all kinds of people out there. To me, it's like a little bit over the top. It's like so many people becoming vegan, which is great. But there's so many people who are like, I'm a, you know, lifestyle coach, or I'm a holistic practitioner, and they have all these recipes. So ask those people, you know, or follow those people and get the recipes, because there's tons and tons of people nowadays that are doing this online coaching, online seminars, online whatever, that even if you don't know anybody in your area, you can follow them and get some ideas, you know. Yeah. And nothing is an end all be all. There's nothing that's like, go follow this one person in your set, because everybody's different and you got to find your own path.
And so with that, you know, what led you in your long journey to MainStreet Vegans? And tell us a little bit about Victoria's, you know, organization and what you learned there.
Well, about a year plus ago, I noticed that this girl, Sandra, was liking and commenting on a lot of my posts, and she's into reggae and she's into hip hop, and we became friends on social media. And then one day I was like, who is this girl? And I clicked on her Facebook page and it said, vegan lifestyle coach. And I was like, oh, wow, that's cool. I've been thinking about doing that because so many people ask me questions about it. So I thought about kind of organizing myself a little bit and presenting that I'm there for people if they want to helped out in any way of going vegan. So then, yeah, I kind of asked Sandra about it, and she told me about the MainStreet Vegan Academy, and I was just like, whoa, that's a thing? Like, and I looked it up right away and was like astonished that there's a MainStreet Vegan Academy and you can get certified as a vegan lifestyle coach. And yeah, I like took a couple of days and looked into it, and right away I signed up and got a hold of Victoria. We had some little technology issues, but we got on the phone and I talked to her, and she was really excited and I was excited. And you know, and you basically go out to New York for about a week. It's like 5 days or so, and it's a lot of like little lectures and seminars with different people who are, you know, kind of experts in their field, and they're vegan, but from a vegan nutritionist, environmentalist, fashion, animal rights, all kinds of aspects of being vegan, baking, cooking. You know, a chocolatier came and talked to us. People who are vegan bloggers and you know, vegan authors, and you know, all just different types of people came and talked to us. And you kind of just go through the motions of every aspect of being vegan. And they also kind of assist and show you how to set up a business if you so choose. There's a lot of people who graduated from the MainStreet Vegan Academy who are already like health coaches and stuff like that. So you just tack that onto their resume. And there's one girl in particular who graduated and started an all vegan cheese shop in Brooklyn. And there's, you know, just various people who graduated from that. academy, and went on from there to do different aspects. They might not have even done coaching, but they just went on and had a vegan business because it fully embraces the full scale of being vegan. Like every aspect of life you can think of, you kind of talk to an expert about it. And what I really enjoyed with it was the nutrition aspect of it. Like I mentioned before, I like to eat seasonal, well-rounded, and maybe about a year and a half ago, I started eating a lot more raw, where every morning I start myself with a high-protein smoothie. Yeah, and I try to eat, just well-rounded and everything like that. And even with the nutritionist, I learned a lot. It was really good. And I do a little B12 spray. I eat nutritional yeast here and there, which is fortified with B12. But I still try to do my little B12 spray, my little vitamin D spray, and just stay on it. You know what I mean? And at first, being vegan, I started off with, the concept of animals dying and being in my body. I don't want my body as a graveyard, so to speak. And then it just extended from there to, well, what people do to animals to get it to us is disgusting and ridiculous. And, I just kind of fully embraced the whole vegan lifestyle.
That's awesome. And with that, one of the, I'm not sure, how have you found that, being vegan is more expensive than not eating a vegan diet, as far as around the food? Because I know that that's something that concerns people. So if there's any tips you could give somebody on that,
I don't think it's really more expensive. I think if you just be mindful about what you're eating and how you spend your money. Of course, if you go, apple per apple, well, this apple's, commercially grown or whatever they want to call it, and this apple's organic. Well, of course, if you go pound for pound, item per item, but if you just be mindful about your choices, your food choices, your lifestyle choices, I don't feel that it really is more expensive. And it's something that I've been doing for such a long time that it's just second nature for me. I don't go, oh, you know what? I'm not going to eat this. I don't want this vegan ice cream because it's so expensive. I'm going to go have a regular ice cream. No, I would rather go home and get some bananas, frozen bananas, and blend them up and make my own ice cream. And that's something that being vegan really embraced my, I like to cook and I like to bake. And being vegan early on, I made myself learn how to make cookies and cupcakes and tamales and vegan Jamaican patties and everything. And I just, it expands who you are and your knowledge. And if you want these things and they're not available, what are you going to do? Not have it? No, I'd rather go make it for myself and just make it vegan. I almost, actually, funny story, I almost got on a baking show. Those reality baking shows.
Yeah.
Maybe 5-6 years ago, I sent in my little picture of these vegan cupcakes that I like to make with, vegan cream cheese frosting. And they, asked me to come up and meet the people. So it was more or less like a casting call. So I had to go up there and stand in line and go through the process. And one person comes and tastes your food, and then another person comes and talks to you who you are, because it's a reality show. They want interesting people. So I talked to them, and then I got to the producers, and there was 5 or 6 of us sitting there talking, and there's, I'm the only vegan. I'm sitting there talking, and the producers are like, well, would you bake something non-vegan for us? And I was like, well, I find it more challenging to make your non-vegan item vegan. And they were like, oh, okay. And that's what it's just a challenge, and you just gotta embrace that challenge. And if you do feel it's too expensive, find a way to make it less expensive. Buy in bulk. Find a friend that you can, make food together, even if you don't live together. Share meals, share ideas. If things are too expensive, like I said, find a friend. Instead of buying one apple at a time, buying a dozen apples at a time. Split it with somebody. There's always ways to figure things out, especially in 2017, modern day. Everybody loves the, life hack and all these kind of stuff. Figure it out. You know what I mean? There's definitely ways. And, of course, if you want quality, sometimes you got to pay that extra little money, and it's worth it. Even with our clothes, you know, people don't think about it, but with our clothes, like, you know, if you want something that's mindfully processed and mindfully brought to you, you might have to pay an extra $1, an extra $5, and sometimes it's worth it.
Yeah, that's great, man. You've given us tons of information on today. So 8 years ago, you started your podcast. Please.
My podcast has started about a year and a half ago. November. It's all good. November 1st, which is International Vegan Day, will be 2 years.
Oh, awesome. So tell us about your podcast, share where it's located on the web and what you do on the podcast.
Cool. Well, like I said, about 2 years ago, I was formulating my podcast. I am part of Tribe of Kings, which is a sound system here in San Diego. It's multiple guys, multiple DJs that we come together for our passion and love of reggae music. And I've always put out mixes ever since I started DJing, and about 98 is when I started. I always put out mixes. I have about like 50 mixes out, CDs, online, whatever. And we've always had some kind of show, AM, FM, internet, yada, yada. And we had one for a little bit. We had multiple things, and it kind of just would fall apart, or, you know, something would happen. And then I wanted to get something going, and the rest of the guys, you know, they have other things going on. So I just decided to do my podcast, and I wanted to do something that's fully like who I am and what I'm about. And I'm about reggae music, and I'm about being vegan. So I was like, you know what? And I did my little research. There was nobody out there doing a podcast on reggae music and vegan lifestyle. So I looked into it, looked up Dashifier, who was using Dashifier as their, you know, name for a party, a show, anything. And there is a couple parties, and there's one DJ. Her name's Dasha, and I believe she goes by DJ Dashifier. I don't know her, by the way. And yeah, I just kind of came up with the concept months ahead of time, and I seen November 1st as International Vegan Day. So I kind of was like, okay, in 2 months, that's when I'm starting. So I kind of formulated everything, got it all together, and launched it. And basically, my podcast is reggae music and vegan lifestyle, and it's mostly music. And then I usually try to have an interview every episode with either a reggae artist or a vegan blogger, you know, chef, whatever. And a lot of times it crosses over. A lot of the reggae artists are vegan, and some of the people that I link up with that are vegans are into reggae, because the ideologies behind reggae music and vegan lifestyle intersect very well with, you know, unity, one love, you know, those kind of essential goals of both. And yeah, I've interviewed reggae artist Jah Cure, Michael Rose, Kabaka Pyramid is vegan, Kez Namdi, who's I believe vegan. Yeah, and my first guests were Al and Didi of Vegan Food Share. They kind of helped inspire me, as well as other people who have various podcasts. And yeah, I just brought it together, and now I start the show off with my little intro, letting you know what's going to happen. Do like a roots and culture section, and then I usually go into the interview. I try to break up the interview with some music, and then I go into top 5 roots and culture, and then I go into a dance hall section, and then a little top 5 dance hall, and then food for thought, which is usually a new vegan item, various things, any aspect of vegan lifestyle, which is new vegan item, a new vegan restaurant, maybe the vegan street fair, just various things about, you know, veganism, because, you know, I just try to bring it all together, because sometimes the vegan element is not always there because the reggae artist isn't vegan. So with the food for thought, I try to bring it together, and just people knowing that I'm vegan and they're listening to somebody that's vegan is sometimes a benefit too. We got to support the vegan businesses out there, even if it's not like a construction company. They might not be, wholeheartedly a vegan business, but the owners are vegan. So yeah, at least you know where that person's coming from. So yeah, I just try to bring it together, and you can find it on iTunes or SoundCloud, and just look up Dash of Fire if you have an iPhone on the podcast app. Usually people type in Dash and it pops up Dash of Fire, and subscribe and tune in. There's 94 episodes, I believe, up right now, so you got a lot of catching up to do, and there's a lot of information out there for people to check. Antonio right here from Inspirational Souls was on there. Victoria Moran was on there before. Trying to think who else. There's so many people I've had on my show, and I just basically get on the phone with them and interview them like we're doing now, and just talk about their lifestyle, and usually if it's a vegan, how they became vegan. And I like to ask what are some top meals and top foods, as well as if there's any vegan item that they haven't tried vegan that they would want to try, which usually is always a good question, because they always go, wow, I never thought about that. Or it's, wow, well, when I was a kid, my mom would make these, macaroni and cheese, whatever, and I haven't been able to find it, So it's very cool. It's very interesting just how, and I like to show, like I said before, there's various ways that people became vegan and got into the vegan lifestyle. And I feel with my podcast and talking to vegans, it really shows that there is a variety of how people became vegan. Some people overnight. Well, I watched this podcast, or I watched this documentary, Earthlings, and I watched Cowspiracy, and I watched What the Health, and now I'm vegan. While my other friend who's been vegan for like 28 years, he listened to the Smiths' Meat is Murder at 11 or 12 years old, and he was like, you know what, I'm going vegetarian. A few years later, he's vegan. So it's various ways that people become vegan, and I like to show that. So
that's awesome, and definitely if you're out there, check out his podcast, man. It's great listening, a lot of great information. Sometimes I just put it on, on like a Saturday morning and just listen to. I've been introduced to so many new reggae acts, so that's awesome. 94 episodes, wow, man.
Yep, that's great. A little bit catching up to do.
yeah, exactly. So, in kind of in closing, a couple of things just to throw out a few more tips. Are there, what are some of the things that you find that are tough to find as a vegan? Possibly clothing items, or I think cleaning supplies is one, and I know there's do you have any recommendations for items like that people transitioning might need?
Well, you mentioned cleaning items. There's a lot of companies out there like Dr. Bronner's, and I work at Trader Joe's, and we have all our items, as far as I know, are vegan and conscious about toxic, chemicals and stuff. You mentioned clothing items. I really found it difficult to find shoes that are vegan and mindfully made, because when I was first getting into it, I wore Wallaby Clarks, which are made from wallabies. And, as I really started thinking about that, I was like, whoa, man, I don't want to wear that. That's weird. Like dead things on my feet. That's weird. So yeah, I found Saucony. They have a whole vegan line. They're like Saucony Jazz Lows, the running shoes. They have a whole vegan line. They've been doing that same line for like 8 years or something, and they're mindfully made, and they're vegan. There's an all vegan shoe company called Keep Shoes. Moo Shoes is a great resource. They have tons and tons of brands there for the shoes, as well as vegan belts. I know like Michael Kors, his belts are vegan. And even some of these brands, they won't, say they're a vegan brand, but you look at the belt and it's, synthetic leather, and just be mindful about stuff like that. Like even buying hats and stuff like that, a lot of the hats are wool or blended wool, and there's cotton hats. You just got to look around for it, and just be mindful about it. And these are some things that people just don't think about, You know, I see a lot of vegans, you know, that are hip hop kids or whatever, and they're trapped in the shoe game, and they love Nikes and they buy Nikes and all this stuff, which is totally cool if that's what they're into. But a lot of the Nikes are leather. There is a handful that are made of hemp and stuff like that. So I think that's something a lot of people don't think about. And once you find a shoe company that goes in line with it, then you're in there. There's Saucony, there's Sanooks that has a lot of the vegan options. Even New Balance made some shoes, running shoes that were vegan, and right on the side they said vegan.
You know what's interesting about that too is that, you know, you say now that they're not labeling stuff as that, but I'm sure, you know, with marketers, because, you know, it's kind of part of my background in my day game, is that once they realize that that whole, you know, veganism lifestyle is picking up, you're going to probably start seeing that, you know, a lot more everywhere. And a question about what you just mentioned too is one thing that I think is an interesting topic is, and this is probably one of the last vegan questions we ask, and then I have some bonus questions I want to ask that are a little bit more intimate. Is what did you do when you transitioned from your you know, using animal products or wearing animal products? What did you do with all the products that you had, the clothing that you had? You know, what did you do basically?
To be honest, I had a bunch of Clarks, like I said, the Wallabies. I put them on eBay, and actually another Rasta DJ bought them from me out of like Switzerland or something. So I thought it was really funny. And I ended up like selling it to him in bulk, and I threw some shirts in there of my sound system and some of my mix CDs, and we were just sharing vibes. So I sent it, mailed it. That's why I always laugh. There's people who are into reggae music or whatever. They might know that there's a song, you know, called Clarks, and it's like, you know, they ask, where do you get me Clarks? And I always say from Dashai on eBay. But yeah, I sold my stuff on eBay. I took my stuff to a thrift store. I donate my stuff, especially right now with Harvey going on. I know there's places where you can send your clothes, and don't throw it away. Don't waste that, you know, that item just because it's not vegan. Don't waste that life that, you know, that life that was taken, not given, taken for that item. Don't waste that life. You know, pass it on to somebody. Pass it on to somebody that's going to use it. And I know a handful of people that are vegan. If they buy, you know, leather secondhand or whatever, they feel okay with it. And that's their, you know, that's their travel, and that's their way of thinking. And that's great. You know, don't waste that life, you know. And I just think you got to just pass it on. Don't just throw it away. You got to do something with it. Use it up, you know.
That's awesome. I love that. Don't waste a taken life. Okay. So shout outs to any restaurants in San Diego or any of your favorite vegan restaurants.
Of course. Well, definitely big up Kindred. That's a newer restaurant in the area. I think to me, it's one of the best vegan restaurants on the West Coast. It's an all vegan bar and restaurant, and it's not over the top vegan. You don't walk in and there's vegan signs everywhere. It just happens to be vegan. I know that the owner got into being the whole vegan lifestyle because of the hardcore scene. The chef Jeremy is just really into food, and we talk all the time about how, and me and the owner as well talk about it, how they don't just like, they're not into just like duplicating, like, oh, here's a cheesecake. Okay, cool, we made a vegan cheesecake. No, they elevate it. They take it, you know, vegan cherry cheesecake with snickerdoodle crust and caramelized ginger and walnuts and all these type of things. And to me, that's one of the top, you know, vegan restaurants in the area. They do like a tiki night. They have all kinds of craft cocktails, if that's what you're into, as well as their own kombucha that a place makes it specifically for them. They have vegan natural sodas there as well. And, you know, they just offer an array of stuff from, you know, the mock chicken to cauliflower steak to a really good barbecue jackfruit, which I recommend for people who, you know, have family that are meat eaters. You take them there, you give them that jackfruit barbecue sandwich, and it's on from there. And another place when people come into San Diego, because we're so close to the border, I recommend going to Ranchos. Ranchos is more of a traditional Mexican food spot. They have meat and stuff like that there. So people who aren't into going to non-vegan restaurants, then that might not be the place. But they offer vegan chicken, vegan beef. They even have vegan shrimp. It's a little bit weird for me. I don't go there, but their vegan chicken enchiladas is the most authentic thing you can get in the area. And yeah, there's a new vegan street taco truck, La Taqueria Veggie, that just opened up. Also, there's a couple donut spots in the area. There's a Italian spot, Chivico 1845. They have an all vegan menu, and it's super authentic Italian. And then, I mean, there's tons of places, not only here in San Diego, but, you know, all over the country. There's like, I don't know, like Dunwell Donuts in Brooklyn was probably like the top notch for donuts. The Cinnamon Snail. I mean, there's just tons of places. Herbivore in the Bay Area. I don't know. There's just tons of places. So
thank you for those, man.
Yeah, of course.
I've tried Ranchos. Ranchos is excellent, man. I had their food when I was down there a couple months ago. So with the last question around veganism I want to ask you is, if you know, what question would you want to put out there to other vegans? I know you have a podcast, but is there any one question that you feel is something that really gets people that are vegan, transitioning to vegan, or not vegan thinking? What would you ask somebody? I know that's a pretty big, broad.
So if they're transitioning or they're not vegan?
Yeah. Well, actually, let me narrow it down. What question would you ask other vegans, or do you ask every other vegan that you feel is possibly important for them to share their message?
I mean, I go through a handful of questions. Again, it's not so much like, well, how did you become vegan? It's, you know, let's share how you became vegan, your vegan journey. Again, like, we can relate to somebody else that might have had those same ideas. You know, people are so disconnected with their food. Like, what is a burger? You know, when kids growing up, you know, I hear various stories from people when they're like, oh yeah, my daughter loved chicken nuggets, but once she connected what a chicken nugget really is, she stopped eating it. A 5-year-old was like, okay, this chicken nugget is this chicken? That doesn't make sense to me. I don't want to eat that. You know, I always find it weird when you go into a sushi spot and they have a fish tank. You know, people are so disconnected with their food. I think that I just like to show people that how people became vegan, their way of thinking. And, you know, there's millions of vegans out there and there's millions of other non-vegans. So let's find the similarities. I'm a big person in finding the similarities instead of the differences.
I love that. I love that.
Together and relate to one another, empathize with one another, instead of, oh, I'm vegan, you're not vegan. Okay, that's cool. No, you're a human, I'm a human. We have compassion. You know, we empathize. You love a dog. You have a dog. I have a dog. You eat cows. I don't eat cows. Well, what's the difference between a dog and a cow in your mind? What's the difference between one animal that you eat and one animal that you cuddle with at night? You know, like, let's find the similarities so people can really equivalate and see it and come together in the oneness that, you know, I believe in.
That's awesome, man. I love that message. That's what Inspirational Souls is trying to do, is trying to connect, you know, people from all different gamuts of life and creative types. And your message is awesome, man. So I'm going to ask, if you don't mind if I ask you a couple of bonus questions. I have a list of 200 questions that I often ask.
No other questions. No other questions. Just kidding. It's 30.
The first question I want to ask you that I think I mentioned to you before is where did the name Dash come from?
Well, Dash I is my full, you know, DJ name, whatever. Dash is honestly just a name that when I was a kid and I was big into hip hop, I was a big hip hop dancer kid. You know, you kind of had to have a name. You couldn't just roll out with your, you know, your regular name, so to speak. You had to have some kind of, you know, nickname, kind of, you know, your street name, your alternative, your alias, whatever. And Dash just kind of came about, and it's something that kind of stuck. And I thought about changing it a few times, and it kind of just stuck, you know. And I've always rolled with Dash for 20-something years now, and probably even longer, and almost 30 actually. And you know, my family calls me Dash. When my sister's talking to my nephews, they say Uncle Dash, and everybody calls me Dash. And then I came about because, you know, in the Rastafarian community, you don't say, you say I instead, you say I and I instead of like we, because it's try to bring the I and the oneness together. So you kind of, and out of respect for other people who are Rasta or Rastafarians, you would say, you know, David I, or you know, whatever I, you know, Ja Oil, or you know, the I and Rastafari I. And, you know, I kind of incorporated that with your third eye and everything like that. So I just kind of added, and people would call me Dash I, but I just wanted to spell it a little bit different. And then that's where it kind of came about. And it's Dash I.
So give me a number between 1 and 200. I'm going to just, you know, wrapping up on time. I'm going to ask you a bonus question on here.
Okay. Could be 18.
18 is... Oh,
third.
How do you're ready for this one? This is a big one, and we can end on this with one. How do you think we can fix the racial divide in the United States? I don't like to get too political on the thing, but you know, I know that you know you have a really compassionate way to look at things. So
yeah, I mean, I think again, it's just people being able to relate to one another, because racism and anything like that is based in ignorance. And people are afraid of things they don't know about, and ignorance is a big factor in fueling that fire. And I think if people just try to relate and understand where other people are coming from, and again having compassion and empathize with each other, I think that people would be able to just connect. And it's sad to say, but we have this, you know, generation of ignorance of people who are, this is my way, this is the way it's always been, this is the way that it is. That way of thinking, that generation needs to move on, because there's the new generation of free thinkers, of people who think on a global scale of a unity community. And I think if we just, instead of having that divide line, we break that line, we break that wall. Like, this guy wants to build walls. We need to break down the walls and embrace each other, and try to really understand where people are coming from. You know, there's all these issues, but if you just spent one day with those people, the people, you know, and this is going out to the people who have issues with another group of people as far as a racial divide, no matter what your background is, those people that you're so afraid of or you have problems with, if you just go spend one day, 1 hour talking to one person that can really, you know, communicate and translate and, you know, really get their message of who they are to the core, I think people will take away their ignorance, take away their hate, take away their fear, you know, and bring it together. Because again, like, it's people fear what they don't understand, and if people have more compassion and empathy, they'll be able to understand or overstand where that person's coming from and be able to relate to that person, and that ignorance and that hate will no longer be there.
Boom. I love it. You just have such a beautiful soul, man. I'm really glad I've connected with you, and you know, we've been kind of, you know, going back and forth about setting something up, and we, you know, we're both busy, and I'm really glad you took some time out today to share your really beautiful and inspirational soul. And any last shout outs you want to give to anyone before we sign off?
Sure. I mean, of course, the whole vegan community. Thank you, guys. Antonio, Inspirational Souls, thank you. Everybody that supports my podcast, thank you. Everybody that supports me personally, thank you. My Tribe of Kings family, the Stronghold family, the Vegan Food Share family, Blunt Club family, Vegan in San Diego family, everybody out there, and even if you don't know me, man, like, just say what's up. Like, I'm a regular person. I'll be at the Vegan Street Fair today, or if you ever want to reach out to me, feel free just to reach out. Like, I'm a regular person. I'm a regular guy. Like, it's all good. So just everybody out there, respect and peace, and, live that oneness.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to give a couple of shout outs and then close it out, man. I really appreciate your time. Thank you. And I look forward to you. I'll be down there in December,
Cool.
Possibly for some work. And, if I have some time, maybe we can connect, man.
Most definitely.
Much love. Thanks.
All right, Antonio.
Everyone, this is Antonio again with Inspirational Souls. Big shout out to Dashai, beautiful person, beautiful soul. Lots of great information. I hope you get a lot of information from this. Shout out to Kim at FTLA Apparel for the Earthling shirt. Was the movie that sent me vegan and changed my life. And if you see in the back there, Prince staring at us, that's from my man Constantine LeFou. He's an awesome street artist from LA, and you can find him at the Vegan Club online. So thanks, everyone, and keep the world full of compassion. Good night.